you want to learn how to build trading bot on your MetaTrader 5, this video and channel is for you. I'll be using a project-based approach to teach you how to build trading bot on MetaTrader 5. What I mean by project-based approach is that we'll be working on different projects, and in that process, I'll be teaching you how to build trading bot on MT5. But in this particular video, I'll be showing you how to build moving average crossover trading bot, which means we'll be using two moving averages, and when they cross each other, it will place either buy or sell trade. If at the end of this video you find it helpful, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and on the notification bell so that whenever I drop a video, you will be notified.
So guys, welcome back. To start building this moving average trading bot, the first thing you need to do is to navigate to your meta editor. This is it. Click on it. Once you open your meta editor, the next thing is for you to navigate to new. Click on new. Then make sure you tick this export advisor template. Then after that, click on next. Once you click on next, input the name of the bot. Let me name this MA_cross_bot. Then in the author section, you can put your name, and in the link section, you can put the link to your website or probably your email. Click on next, click on next, click on finish. Now you successfully created the file in the meta editor. Meta editor is where you are going to write your code before you start running it in the application. That's the first thing you need to do. Now after creating this file, you can see it's MA_cross_bot. Now go back to your MetaTrader 5. Anytime you want to create a bot using indicator, the first thing I always advise is for you to manually add the indicator on your chart. For example, what we are creating in this video is when two moving average crosses each other, you should place a trade, maybe a buy or a sell trade. Now, which means we'll be required to use two moving averages, right? Now, let me add these two indicators to the chart. The moving average indicator, let's set the property to 20, method to simple, apply to close price, and the shift to 0. And also let's keep the color, let's make the color dark green. Now this is the first moving average, right? Then let's go ahead and add the second moving average also to the chart. But this time around, let us make the period 100, right? Okay, but I would prefer we change the color of the one with period 100 to red, right? Now we've successfully added two moving averages to the chart. Now here's how the strategy works. Let's call this green moving average our fast moving average, and the red moving average our slow moving average. Anytime the green moving average cross and close above this red moving average, is going to place a buy trade. For example, there was a crossing here, which means the bot is going to place a buy trade. And anytime the green moving average cross below the red moving average, it is going to place a sell trade. That is basically the strategy. Now that I believe you have full understanding of this strategy, the next thing is that you need to programmatically implement this, which means you have to code it, right? Now to do that, go back to your meta editor. Remember, we created a file MA_cross_bot. Now the first thing you need to do is to write a code that recognizes two moving averages and should be able to also recognize the properties of these two moving averages. For example, like I said earlier, the properties of this green moving average, if you check it, properties, you see it, right? That's the properties of the green moving average. Then for the red moving average, if you check it, you can see that this is the property of the red moving average, right? Now, how do you tell the computer that, computer, this is a red moving average and this is a green moving average, and whenever the green cross above the red moving average, you should place a buy trade, and whenever the green cross below the red moving average, you should place a sell trade. Now this is what you will do. You have to declare an integer variable, the first thing you have to do is to type int, which means int. I won't really go into too much details about this. I've already done a video on it before, but the first thing is for you to input int, then type green ma properties, right? End it with a semicolon. The second thing again, type int again, then this should be green. I'm using basic terminologies for you to understand. They are what we call this in programming, but I want you to understand it fully. Then type red ma. Okay, the ma stands for moving average properties, right? What do you do again? End it with a semicolon. Now you've declared a variable to store the properties of the green moving average and also the red moving average. Now you will come inside your own initialization event handler. This is what we call initialization event handler. If you don't know what event handler means, you can still go on with the video. As time progresses, you will get better. Now what you are going to do now must be inside these two curly brackets, and it must be above the return int succeeded. Now come here, type green ma properties, right? Then type equals to, then type this keyword small letter I, then ma uppercase, right? Then open a parenthesis, which means this bracket. Now the first requirement for you to input in this bracket is the type of symbol, which means do you want to use it with Euro USD or do you want to use it with GBP USD? But now to make things easy for you, just need to type underscore symbol. What this means is that any chart that is the bot is activated, the name of the chart should be replaced. So that's the work of underscore symbol. The next one is saying the period, which means what time frame of the moving average do you want to use. For example, if you go to the moving average, this is 1 hour, right? If I go to 5 minutes, the position of the moving average is different, right? So now let me go back to 30 minutes. The position of the moving average is also different in this case. So now you can't use, maybe if you use period underscore d1, it means the daily time frame, the moving average on the daily time frame. But for you to be able to use any time frame that is currently on your chart, all you just need to do is to use period current. This means anytime you change the time frame, then automatically the bot should update that, okay, this is the time frame that I will be getting the moving average for. Now the next one is saying what is the period, which means what is the period of the green moving average, right? Come here, check the period here, the properties of the green moving average. What is the period? You can see the period is equals to 20, right? What will you do? Input it here as 20, add a comma. The next one is saying what is the shift of the moving average. Come back to MT5. What is the shift? The shift is 0. What will you do? Go back to your meta editor, type 0, a comma. Now this next one is saying what is the mode, right? Which is also the method. You can see here that we have different methods. We have the simple, exponential, smoothing, and linear weighted. If you go to your meta editor, you can see that we also have mode eme. It means mode exponential, mode linear weighted, mode simple moving average. But for example, let's just use exponential, or let's check the one we use here. Okay, we use mode simple. The method here is simple, right? Which means if you want to use the simple method, we are going to use mode SMA. That means simple, right? The last parameter of the function is applied price. Now if you go back to your MetaTrader 5 and you check the applied to, you can see that the applied to of the moving average is applied to close price, right? You can also apply it to open price, high price, low price, medium price, typical, weighted close. But for example, in this case, in the properties of the moving average on our chart here, the price is applied to close price, which means we are going to type price. You can see that we have different options. If you want to use apply to high price, you will type price high. If you want to use apply to low price, you type price low. But in this case, we want to use apply to close price, so you are going to type price close. Now end the line with a semicolon. If I compile it, you see we have 0 errors and 0 warning. So it is very important for you to always add a semicolon after every line of code in MQL5. For example, if I cancel this line, compile. You see I get an error saying I should check line 25. I have an error and I'm expected to add a semicolon. Then if I come back here, add the semicolon, you see that the errors and the warning will disappear. Now, we've already programmatically tell the computer that, computer, this is the properties of the green moving average. The symbol is any symbol, any asset that is on the chart. Period current means any current time frame on the chart. Then the property 20, the shift 0, mode simple moving mode, the method should be simple, then the applied to should be applied to close price. Now let's say the properties of the red moving average, right? Red, remember we already declared it in the global space. Red moving average equals IMA, right? That is the keyword to add the properties of the moving average. Then open a parenthesis. Now in the parenthesis, the first option is saying what is the symbol, which means underscore symbol. Remember I said earlier, underscore symbol means the current symbol on the chart. Add a comma. The second option that you must input is the time frame. Like I said earlier, use period current. The next one is saying the period, right? Now let's check the red moving average property. If you check the red moving average property, we can see that the period is 100, right? So in your code, you are going to write 100. Add a comma. The next one is saying what is the shift. If you check the properties of the red moving average, the shift is 0, right? So you are going to input that also. Add a comma. The next one is saying what is the method, right? If you check it, you can see that the method is simple, which means we are going to use mode underscore SMA, which means simple. The next one is now saying apply to what price. Now you can see that according to the set properties of the moving average, the apply to is applied to close price, which means we are going to type price underscore close. It should be C here, price underscore close, then end it with a semicolon, which means automatically we've set the properties of the moving average. The next thing for us to determine is to know whenever the moving averages cross each other. For example, you can see that this is the current ask price. Just like the ask price is moving, the moving average is also moving. For example, the current price of the moving average is here, right? Of the green moving average is here. The current price is 8860.36, right? And the current price of the red moving average is 8825.09. Anytime the price of the green moving average is lower than the price of the red moving average, that signals a sell trade. And anytime the price of the green moving average is above the price of the red moving average, that signals a buy trade. So now, how do you programmatically identify the price of the moving average? For example, at 1300, this was the price of the moving average. Now if you move to 30 minutes previously, that before that period, the 30 minutes bar before that period, you can see the price of the moving average. So the price of the moving average changed with time. Can you see from here? It's moved. So now how do you get the prices of all this moving average, so that you'll be able to compare both to see if the green moving average is above the red moving average, or the red moving average is above the green moving average? Now let me show you how to do that programmatically. Now go back to your meta editor. You are going to declare two double array to store the data for both the green moving average and the red moving average. Now type double. The meaning of a double is any data that has decimal points. For example, if you come here, you can see that the ask price has 8828.5 something, which means there is a point after the there's a number after the decimal point, right? So now declare a double variable and name it green MA data, right, which is the prices. Then declare another one. This should be an array. An array will definitely have like this square bracket, which means you are storing more than one number in this variable, but the numbers must be the same data type, which means they will be all the numbers will be double variables, right? Double data type. Now declare another double to store the data for red underscore MA underscore data, then add the square bracket semicolon. Now let's say we want to copy the prices of the moving averages on different candlestick. For example, this last candlestick here, this was where the moving average was at that period. Now on this second candlestick, this was where the moving average was, the green moving average was at that period. On this third candlestick, this was where the moving average was at that period. Now you want to copy all these moving average prices so that you will know where the moving average price was at that particular period. Now to do that, we are storing all those data inside this double variable. Now if you copy data in MKL5, automatically it's going to start the copying from the first ever candlestick, not the latest, right? Let me use an arrow to explain better. For example, if you copy the data of the moving averages, it's going to start from here, from back to the front, right? But we don't want that, because that's like the past record. We want to know if there is like a new crossing from this side, right? From here, we want to know if there is a new crossing, which means we must start copying the moving average data from here, which means from the right to the left, because by default it's going to copy from the left to the right. Now to do that, go back to your meta editor, then just below this red ME properties, type array set as series, then a parenthesis will open, then input the identifier for the array, let's say green MA data, then add a comma, then type true. After that, add a semicolon, go to another line, type in array set as series, open a parenthesis, then input the name of the red MA data, comma, then type true. After that, add a semicolon, which means any data that you copied inside this array is going to be arranged from your left to your right. Now we are good to go. Go back to your meta editor. Once you are done with that, compile to check if there are errors. So thankfully we have 0 errors and 0 warnings. The next thing is for you to now come inside your untick event handler, type in CopyBuffer, which means copy the data of this function is a predefined function on MT5, on MQL5, which means they've automatically created it. Or you just need to type it and the computer will know that if automatically you want to copy the data of a particular candle. Now you've typed CopyBuffer, the computer does not know which moving average you are talking about. Now the first thing that you should type inside this bracket is the properties of the moving average you want to copy the data. Remember, in the initialization event handler, we already add the properties of the moving average, right? Just copy the name, which is the identifier, then paste it here, right? Then add a comma. What this is saying is that, computer, I want to copy the properties of this particular moving average, right? The data of this particular moving average. Then the CopyBuffer function is now asking you what are the properties of the moving average, right? That is why you need to input the name of the properties of the moving average, the identifier you used for the properties of the moving average. You input that, type a comma. The next one is saying what is the buffer of the moving average, right? Now for a moving average, we only have one buffer. For Bollinger Band, we have 3 buffers, right? Now if you have one buffer for a moving average, which means how many data are you copying for the indicator? You are only copying one data. Remember, anything that has to do with index, counting starts from 0 in MKL5, right? Then just type, anytime you are using moving average, for this buffer number, always type 0, right? Add a comma. The next one is now saying in start, which means where do you want it to start from? Remember, I just said earlier that counting in MKL5 starts from 0, right? This first candle here, this is where the moving average was at that point. This second candle here, this was where the moving average was at that point. Now you can see that if the current candle is still ticking, right, the price of the moving average at that period, right, will not be stable. So that's why I always advise that start the copying from the second candle, right, so that at that point the price of the moving average was stable, which means index 0, index 1, which means you are starting the counting from, you are starting the copying of the moving average data from index 1. So come here, instead of 0, type 1, right? Remember, this is the properties of the moving average, of the green moving average, right? Add a comma. The next one is now saying count. How many prices do you want to, prices for how many bars do you want to copy? For example, if I say the count should be 5, it means since I started the counting from index 1, it means it will copy for 1. Let me use the crossbar to copy from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it will copy the moving average data from this bar to this bar, right? So now that's why I input 5. Then the next thing is for you to add a semicolon. The next one is now saying, where do you want to store this data? Remember, earlier we declared a double array to store the data for the green moving average, right? So that's why you need to come here, just input the name green MA data, which means you want to store the data inside this green MA array, right? Now I want you to pause this video, repeat the same thing for the red moving average, right? Okay, I believed you've done that, right? Then we are going to copy the data for the red moving average also. We are going to use the copy buffer function again, but this time around the computer is now saying, for this one that you just want to copy, what is the property? Remember, this time around we are copying for the red MA, right? You are going to input the identifier for the red MA properties. Input that, the comma is now saying what's the buffer number. Remember, anytime you are using moving average, always use 0. The next one is saying, where do you want to start from, right? Let's say we want to start the copying from index 1 because the current red moving average for the current bar is still ticking and it is not stable. So let's start the copying from index 1. Let me use the crossbar to point that out. It should be here, right? It should be here from index 1. So we are going to do what? Input that as 1. Then the next one is saying, how many do you want to copy, right? Which is the count. It means from, should be from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we are going to input that here as 5. Now the last parameter is asking us that the double array, where do we want to store this data? Remember, we declared a double array also for red moving average to store the data, right? So we are going to say red MA data. That is where we'll be storing our information. Compile it. Now you see that we have 0 errors and 0 warnings. Now the next thing I always make sure to do is that sometimes you might have made error when you were inputting the properties of the moving average, or maybe sometimes you might mix it together. So I try to do like a runtime debugging. For example, let me comment the price of the moving average when it was at this, let me delete this, when it was at this particular time. So I want to know where the moving average was, the price of the moving average was at this particular bar, this particular candlestick, right? So the moving average here was at I think 8859.08 blah blah blah, something like that. So now I want to confirm it by commenting it out on my chart. So let me comment, okay, green MA data, right? Index 0. Remember, indexing starts from 0. So now let's see where the moving average was at index 0, the green moving average. So now on checking it, I think I need to add the bot to my chart. Go to navigate to view to add the bot, navigate to build and to view. Then after that, navigate to click on navigator. Once you click on navigator, click on expert advisor. Once you click on expert advisor, check the name of the bot, right? MA cross bot. Come back here and search for MA cross bot. Here is it, MA cross bot. Then click and drag to your chart. Once you click and drag to your chart, click on OK. Then automatically the bot will be activated on your chart. You can see here it's telling me that the green MA at index 0, which is this second bar on the chart, is where 8859. You can see that, right? You can see here that the comment is 8859. So now let me comment for index 4. Remember, counting starts from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That means 5 elements in the array. So index 4 is going to print. Let's check the price of the green moving average at index 4. Remember, this is index 1 is here. The bar, index 2, index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, and index 4. So now let's take the price at index 4. You can see that the price was 8866. If you check here too, you can see that the price is 8866. So which means we've copied the right data for the green moving average. Now let's do the same thing to see if we did not make mistake for the red moving average, right? So now let's comment red MA data index 0. Let's comment it to see if we are right or wrong. Let me bring this out. So for index 0, where was it? It was 8826. No, 8825, right? You can also see it on the charts here. So now let's check for index 4 to see if everything is working perfectly. So we now have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's view it. That should be 8821. If you check here too, 8821, which means we've copied the right data and we can work with them to know whenever the market crosses. The next thing we have to do is to define the condition for entry, right? We need to define the condition for entry by saying if the green moving average is below the red moving average, the bot should place a sell trade. And if the green moving average is above the red moving average, the bot should place a buy trade. Now let's go back to the MetaTrader 5 and write this command. Now let's do like this. If, type if, then open a parenthesis. If close, if green MA data 0 is below red MA data 0, right? The bot should do what? Place a sell trade. Now, the condition for this is the condition for sell, right? Should be then the condition for buy should be like this. If the green MA data 0 is above the red MA data 0, the bot should do what? The bot should place a buy trade, right? Now this is the condition for sell and this is the condition for buy. Though there might be some errors that we'll fix later in this video. You can see that is very easy. When I'm talking about red MA data 0, it means this particular price. Now if this price is below this price, that is a sell trade, and if this green is above this red price, that is a buy trade. Now let me just write a command here to comment out if it is a buy or sell. Now comment if this condition is true, comment sell, and if this condition is true, comment buy. So let's check our charts. You can see that right now it is commenting buy. Why? Because the green candle, the green moving average is above the red moving average. And if it was, let us check another time frame. Maybe we see a time frame where the green is below the red. Let's change the time frame to 1 minute. Okay. Yes. You can see that on 1 minute time frame, I'm coming. on 1 minute time frame, the green moving average is below the red moving average. That's why we are getting a sell signal here, right? So let me change it to M15 to see what the time frame is saying. It should also be red. Why? Because the green moving average is below the red moving average. If I change it to 30, it should be buy. Why? Because, can you see it is a buy? Because the green moving average is above the red moving average. Now you can see the comments on the charts. What if we actually want to place trade? Now let me go back to the meta editor. Instead of these comments, we actually want to place an actual trade. We want the bot to, execute trade for us instead of just, commenting buy and sell. Now let me delete this and this. What you should do if you want your bot to execute trade in MQL5 is to navigate to the up part of your code. Just below this property, type hashtag include. Now you don't need to understand this. As time goes on, you understand it better. Then type the less than symbol, then type trade, then slash trade.mqh, then the greater than symbol, right? Once you are done with that, go to the next line, type C trade space trade, then end it with a semicolon. Compile it. Now you can start placing trade. Once you write these 2 lines of code, then the next thing is for you to go inside this condition, so that anytime this condition is true, what do you want the bot to do? For example, this is a sell, right? You type trade.sell, trade.sell, then open a parenthesis. Now the first option is saying what's the volume, which means the lot size. Let's say I want to use 0.6 lot size, add a comma. Then the next one is saying the symbol, which means, if you use, remember I said earlier, if you use underscore symbol, it means the current symbol on your chart. Underscore symbol, add a comma. It's saying price. Mostly you can use the ask price. This is very important. Now to get the ask price, this is what you should do. You can go to the global space and declare another double variable. Double, then you can give the identifier as ask underscore price, add a semicolon. Then after that, in your tick outside of the condition, you can just type ask price equals symbol. Just type this function, symbol info double, and in the parentheses type underscore symbol, then comma symbol price. So anywhere you use ask underscore price is going to, let me comment it out for you to understand better. Let me comment this. Let me say comment ask underscore price, right? If I do this, let's see what the outcome will be. You can see that the chart, it is commenting the current ask price as it is moving, as it's ticking. You can see that it's also updating here because that is the ask price. Good. So now let me just remove this and continue with what we were doing. Now next parameter is your ask price, right? So all you just need to do is type ask price, then a comma. It's now saying where do you want your stop loss to be. Let's say we want our stop loss to be, depending on the numbering system of the assets that you are using. For example, if you want to use the bot for Euro USD charts, so for a sell, the stop loss must be above the entry point, right? You just say anytime the bot executes a trade, the ask price should be plus, let's say 10 pips. It should be 0.0010. This represents 10 pips, right? If you want 5 pips, it should be 0.5. If you want 20 pips, you choose 0. You know how to convert. I believe you know how to convert pips to this to pips. Start to calculate pips, blah blah blah. But for this type of market, that the ask price or the market is does not use the number system of like Euro USD that use 1 point something. This is similar to like normal price like BTC USD. You can just say ask price plus 10, which means ask price will be 10 will be added to 8824. Then that's where our stop loss will be. So in a case like this, let's say ask price should be stop loss should be ask price plus 10. and our take profit should be ask price minus 30 because this is a sell, right? Add the semicolon. For a buy trade, we just need to do is to come inside this bracket and type trade dot buy, right? Open the parentheses, the lot size 0.6, 0.6. The symbol should be underscore symbol. The ask price should be ask price as usual, the way we got it earlier. Then the stop loss should be ask price minus 10, and the take profit should be ask price plus 30. Why we are using minus here instead of plus is because for a buy trade, you are expected that the stop loss should be below the ask price and the take profit should be above the ask price. Let's check the chart to see what condition is true before we compile the code, because immediately we compile the code is going to start executing trade. And let's go back to our chart. You can see that currently green price, the green moving average is above the red moving average, so we are expecting it to place a buy trade. Right now, let me show the toolbox so that we see the number of trades that it is executing. Toolbox trade. Now let's compile the code and let's see what the results will be. If I compile it, okay, semicolon is expected. All right, let me add it here, compile. Now you will see that the bot is expected to execute a buy trade, but I don't know what is wrong. Okay, anytime you execute a bot, let me check the properties. Allow algo trading. Okay, let's see if it works like this. Still not working. Let me click it here. Allow algo trading. Yes, can you see that it is executing a buy trade? Why? Because the green moving average is above the red moving average. So let me stop this for now to prevent over buying. Can you see? So now you can see that on every tick the bots keep executing trades, which is not good, right? See the number of trades that the bot has executed within this short period of time. So now we need to prevent that, because we only want it to execute a trade once, right? So let me close all the trade that it has opened. So now I want you to look closely. What other error has the bots have we made in our program? Now, one of the mistakes that we've made in our program is that, number one, we only want the bots to execute when there is a new crossing, right? In this place now, immediately the moving average cross each other. When the green cross above the red one, it should place a sell, it should place a buy trade, right? Now, which means something is wrong with our program, because in this place there is no new crossing, right? It has crossed a long time ago, so it shouldn't place a buy trade, right? But because of the condition, what we said in the condition is that if the green is below the red, it should place a sell trade, and if the green is above the red, it should place a buy trade. So now we need to address two errors in our program. The first one is we need to solve the problem that it should only place trade whenever there is a new crossing. Like in a place like this should be a buy trade, because immediately it cross, you place a buy trade, and immediately the green cross below the red, you place a sell trade, not after a long time. Like imagine in a case like this, you should not keep executing trade. The reason why the bot was executing multiple trade when I compiled the code was because you can see now the condition is true, right? Green is above red, right? So now, as long as the markets keep ticking, because the condition was written inside the onTick event handler, as long as the market keeps ticking, it will keep executing the condition that is true. Now, this is like the way we can prevent this, which means the bot should only check the condition once per bar. For example, the bot whenever there is a new bar, the bot should check if the condition is true. If it is true, it should execute the trade, which means it will only execute one trade per bar. The first thing you need to do, go to your global space, right, just above the initialization event handler, type in date time, which is a date time data type. Then you can just name this last underscore trade underscore time then equals 0. This will be the last time that the bot executes a trade. Now just you put input is equal to 0. The next step you should take is to come inside your untick event handler, then type another date time, create another date time variable, this time just name this current underscore bar time, so that it will be getting the time of the new the open price of the new bar, then compare it to the last trade time to see if the bot has taken at most one trade within that period, so that it will not take more than one trade. Now to get the time of this current bar, this ticking bar, to compare it to the last time you took a trade, you need to use the equals I time function. Then the first parameter of the function is saying symbol. Remember, you can use underscore symbol to get the symbol of the on the current chart, comma, then period current, which means the current time frame, then use 0. 0 means the first candle on the chart. Remember, you can see it, this is the first candle on the chart, which means 0. Remember, I said counting starts from 0, indexing starts from 0 in MQL5. Once you are done with that, add a comma. Good, right? Now the next thing you have to do is in your condition, now write it that and add this condition to that, and if last trade time, right, is not equals to current bar time. So now anytime the bot takes a trade, right, it will compare the last trade. You know that the last trade time in this case is 0, right? Then the current bar time is, let me check the current bar time. You take the current bar time, let me use the crossbar. The current bar time is 14:30, which means 2:30, right? If you compare it, if you say that okay, current bar time is 0 and the last trade time is 0 because that's not taking any trade, and the current bar time is 2:30, right? It's going to execute like a sell or a buy trade. Now once it does that, immediately we now say last trade time is equals current bar time. So now immediately you say it execute a trade and you say last trade time is now equals to current bar time, which means current bar time has now updated to the last trade time. So now until the current bar time change, which means if another bar forms, then the last trade time will not be updated, which means when current bar time changes, then it means the last trade time is no longer the same as the current bar time, so it can execute a trade. So now let's repeat the same thing for a buy trade. It's exactly the same thing. If last trade time is not equals to current bar time, then after executing the trade, it should update the last bar time. So now let's activate the bot to see if it will not, take too many trades this time around. So after activating the bot, you can see that now in this case it only executes just one trade. Why? It only executes just one trade because by the time of the activation it has not taken any trades, right? Last trade time is 0. Current bar time is let me put the crossbar again. Current bar time is 2:30, right? So now after it executes a trade, it changed last trade time from 0 to 2:30, which means they are now matching until it forms another candle and the current bar time is now different from 2:30 before it can execute another trade again. The second issue that we are going to sort is how do we make the bot only execute when there is a new crossing instead of executing after a long time after crossing, right? Let me close this trade that I opened earlier. Now let's go back to before we go back to meta editor, now we need to change something in our condition. We said earlier that it is when green is above red before we can place a buy trade, or when green is below red moving average before we can place a sell trade. But now this condition is a little bit, not correct. Why? Because we have to make sure that if the green is above the red, then just one bar before it, the green must be below the red. That signifies that there was a crossing above it. Now for a sell, we can say that if the green is below the red and one bar before that, the green was above the red, that signifies a sell trade. So we need to change the logic, right? So now let's go back to our meta editor 5. So now we already said this condition now that says if green MA data 0 is less than red MA data 0, you should place a sell trade, right? To add this, that if green MA data 1 is above red MA data 1, let me add the and. What this is saying is that if, let's say, this is the current place that the market is, right? Let's say this is the current place that the market is, that the market just crossed at this point. Let's say the market just crossed at this point. Sorry, this should be index 0. Let's say this is index 0, where the green moving average cross below the red moving average. That is index 0, right? Now, which means to validate the crossing, it means that index 1, at index 1, the green moving average was above the red moving average. That signifies a sell trade and a new crossing. Now for a buy trade, let's say this is index 0 when the market crossed. This is index 0, right? Now at this point, the green moving average crossed above the red moving average. It means index 1, the green moving average must be below the red moving average. That signifies a buy trade. So now let us add that to our code also. It means the green MA data 1, right, is below for a buy the red MA data 1 and right. So now even if we activate the bot, you can see that it is not executing a trade because this is not a newly crossing moving average. So now to test this, let's go to our meta strategy tester, navigate to view. Once you click on view, then click on strategy tester, then click on visualize. Once you click on visualize, click on expert. In your expert, choose the bot that you just created. Look for the name, cross MA cross bot. Look for it, MA cross bot. Click on it. Then you can choose the symbol you want to test it with. For example, I can choose volatility 101s, but make sure that the symbol is added to your market watch. This is what I mean by market watch. If the symbol was not added to your market watch, right, you will not see it in your symbol here. So let me just pick volatility 101s. After you pick volatility 101s, then you can choose the period you want to backtest it with. If you choose custom period, it means you can backtest it from anytime. For example, I can change this to 2022 blah blah blah, but let's backtest it from 2020 01 01 to 2020 01 31st. And if you want to backtest it throughout, just the entire history, click on entire history. If you want to backtest it, just the last 1 month, click on last month. And if you want to backtest it with just last year, click on last year. And if you want to backtest it with your custom period, then you can just click on custom period and you will choose whatever you want to choose. Then let me close this window. Then you can choose the forward. Make sure this forward is set to no. Delay is 100 ms. Modeling should be every tick. That will give you more accurate results. Make sure you do not click this box. Make sure it remain unclicked. Then the deposits, whatever you want to deposit, your leverage, make sure you disable optimization and click. Make sure this box is clicked. Visual mode with display of chart, indicator, and trade. So now let's start this testing to see if the bot is working according to our specifications. So let's see. Anytime there's a crossing, I believe it should execute trades. Let's see. Let me forward it a bit. We have to be patient. Let's see if we get a crossing. Anytime we get a crossing, can you see there was a trade? So anytime the moving average crosses, there will be a trade. You can see here a trade. If you cross again, just focus on the moving average, another sell trade. So basically, that is how to create a moving average crossover bot. So if after watching this video you find it helpful, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Or maybe you want to learn how to build trading bots and you want a one-on-one class with me. I charge $500 if you want a one-on-one class with me. But if you cannot afford that, just stick to my video. You will still learn it either way. So guys, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Bye for now.